Paul and Mike Perry fight.
Man, Jake Paul versus Mike Perry. You take a look and it's one of those. Look, Mike Perry went out there, and in the beginning, I'm sitting there watching a guy hands down, stalking and kind of bouncing as he's doing. He's off balance, and he gets put on his butt. He wasn't hurt from that first one though.
No.
But he did take some big shots throughout the fight, and he ate a lot of them well, but kept being put down. In the second round, he got put down, and it was a matter of, first off, it looked like he was, as you know, we talked about pushing his punches.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't able to truly throw a good punch. The big difference is, take a look at one simple punch, a jab. Jake Paul went to the jab how often and utilized it well. Went to the body with it, went to the head with it. He controlled distance with it, and that's what a jab will do for you in boxing. Mm-hmm. Mike Perry had no jab. Mike Perry was throwing big shots to try to put Jake Paul out, and he wasn't able to land the ones. He landed a couple times. He hurt him, actually. He got his attention, but not enough output. Too much as far as, I don't want to say too much as stalking and being the tough guy, but you're taking too much damage while you're doing it.
Yeah.
You got to move, your head offline. You got to get out of there. And he did at times, but then he took big shots from it with his hands down. There's a reason why we tell you to put your hands up, chin down. And it's because if you don't, you're going to end up getting hurt. He got hurt multiple times. And, when the referee tells him step to the side and he stumbles, it's over.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to take anything away from Jake in terms of this. He is getting better fight by fight as a boxer. I don't want to take anything away from him. But I also tweeted this. I said, which is at the Real Punk. If you guys want to take,
he should have won this fight.
He should have won this fight. We know that, but John,
yeah,
I don't want to get. How long are we going to pretend as if like we're watching somebody who is fighting equal opponents?
No, once again, it's not that way.
That's how long are we going to feed into this? Like, you're going to have to fight. And the one fighter he did fight that I would consider a potential equal opponent was Tommy Fury. And Tommy was his height, and his weight. And his age. Yeah. Yeah. So those are all things that were very similar, and he lost.
Yeah.
And he did better than I thought, to be honest, against Tommy Fury. He did better than I thought. But he still lost. So that's the one fighter that we can put up there and be like, hey, this is the one guy that he fought that it was his age, his height, and his weight. I think Tommy Fury is a little bit taller than him. But they're they're fighting the same division. And then we were talking about the Brian Kelleher fight tonight, where he was probably 5 or 8 pounds lighter than his opponent. And we're going to talk. We brought that up, but no one seems to be bringing up the fact that Jake Paul is fighting people that are always older, smaller.
Well, you got to look and say what Jake Paul weighed in at. What was it? 200, 198, something like that, right? He's cutting to get to that. Yeah. While Mike Perry is doing the old Frank Shamrock and sticking rolls of quarters in his pockets to weigh the 196.
But don't we remember, right, with the Frank Shamrock and Tito Ortiz, because at the time with MMA being at the level it was, Frank had to put quarters in his pocket because if you're a 20-pound difference, they don't allow the fight to happen. Is that correct? Was it a 20-pound difference?
No, it wasn't a 20-pound difference, but he had to make. You got to figure at the time it was 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so we had a level of that's 200 pound. He had to be close to the 200 pound for them to allow him to be, and so he was weighing somewhere in the 185 pound range. Tito was cutting a ton to get to 200.
Yeah, But I guess what I want to call on is you had media working the show that was in cage side and inside the ring doing interviews. You had media working the show. When are we going to start? When is this same type of media and media that works in the MMA world as well as the boxing world? When are we going to start calling this out? Like, hey, you've had your tune-up fights and your warm-up fights.
When is that media going to call out their payday?
Well, John,
Come on, man.
I'm here for a conversation. I'm asking you.
You crack me up.
But when are we going to get to a point where it's like, hey, we need to start actually putting a little bit of pressure on this fighter and the organizations that are putting these fights on and saying, hey, let's start getting him some competition. I thought Mike Perry fought a way better fight than we were giving him than I think people thought. I mean, he took a lot of damage, but he kept coming forward. He kept trying.
If there was something you knew that Mike Perry was going to do, he was going to take shots and he was going to come after him. You know, look, if there's one thing that we've learned about Mike Perry has got the dog in him. He doesn't back down. You know, that's good at times and it's bad at times. And, you know, in this situation, when you're talking about boxing is different than bare knuckle boxing.
Absolutely.
You know, and boxing is more of a skill set that takes someone that understands when to slow things down, when to back off, all those things. It's just part of it's a different skill set. And Mike doesn't have really that mindset. Mike's got that, you know, he's got a forward gear. But the dog in him, you can't doubt.
No.
But he was not made to go out and box with 10-ounce gloves. That's not who he is.
Yeah, definitely not made for that. Definitely not. Yeah. I mean, it just comes down to, like, look, bare knuckle, the hands slip through. You can also dip your head a little bit so you hit the crown of the head, which hurts the hand more so than the head. There's just different ways of fighting. They're completely different fights. They're not even the same. So definitely a different style of fight. I mean, like, the overhand right is less effective in bare knuckle than it is in boxing.
Sure.
I mean, it's just not as easy to land the overhand right in bare knuckle because you could hit the top of the head and really hurt your hand more so than hurting your opponent. So you've got to be a little bit more accurate to hit the face and even sometimes to the majority of the time to the body in the bare knuckle. In boxing, there's just more ways to cover up. There's more cushion to hit, not just the opponent's glove, but your glove as well. You've got to thread the needle between the gloves, around the gloves.
Yeah, you're so right about that. Unless you're Mike and you just don't put your gloves on.
This is true.
So I was like, but you know, hey, that's part of who he is. It's okay. I still love him. I think he's great in bare knuckle, and I hope he got a great payday for this.
Yeah, but I want to get back to, when are we going to start having media though, John, that calls this out and says, "Hey, I've been kind of attracted to this Jake Paul boxing like trial kind of thing because a lot of MMA guys have been stepping up to fight him and they've come up short, you know, and I'm okay with that. Look, I'm under no illusions. Look, Anderson Silva at 47, 48 fighting him,
50.
You know, whatever. No, when they fought, he was 47, 48, I believe, right?
I think he was 50.
Yeah, I'll have to check on that. But let's go in the middle. Let's say he was 47 to 50. Let's go in the middle, 48. Okay, I was right. See, so but like you have that, then you got T Wood, who's mainly a wrestler. He's good some boxing, had a couple knockouts in MMA. You know, Ben Askren, straight wrestling, I don't think he ever had a knockout finish in his life. You know, but there was, you know, I'm just saying, the trial period of the warm-up rounds and the level of competition you're fighting and then outweighing your opponents. It was kind of nice and refreshing to hear Ariel say, when I see them in the ring together, that Jake Paul looks a lot bigger. I'm glad finally somebody's saying these things. You know, that would be nice. But let's start putting a little bit more buzz out there about, like, hey, the fun time is over now. You fought 7-8 fights or whatever it is now of guys that are older, smaller, and you know,
you need to figure this out. Hold on. I'm just being honest. Jake Paul is his own promoter.
Yeah.
It's his company. So Jake Paul can continue to do whatever he wants as long as he wants, as long as people are paying. You had, 17,000, 18,000 people in that arena, right? I don't know how many on pay-per-view paid for it, but let's say 20,000. Okay. You know, I'm not sure that's the number, but I don't think it's going to be a huge amount, but he's able to make profits off of what he's doing, and he'll continue to do it again.